Hi, part threes. I decided to do kind of a nuts and bolts video for part three. Um, we are all fairly new in this new religion program that started July 2022. And so those of you who had me for part two, we kind of fumbled along together to kind of figure out how to complete that program together. So now starting part three, I just want to have a little more clarity. And I'm also working with Stephanie, who's the other part three instructor, and she was able to do part three in the summer, so we are off to better footing as we begin this course together. But I still thought it was important to do this video so that we start understanding right from the start what is expected and how are we going to run through this, and especially for people who haven't taken part two or part one in this model. So if you didn't take a religion course last summer, then for some of you guys, this is a brand new format. So I thought it would be best to do this because not everyone can show up to an intro Zoom where I can explain all this. So I'm still open to questions, so don't stop asking me questions and clarification. I really appreciate those questions because it helps me see what you're not seeing as participants. So as an instructor, it gives me insight into what do I need to do to make this more clear for you guys, okay? So never shy away from that. There's never a stupid question. They're all excellent questions. We're all just entering this from different perspectives. So I need you to do that, and I appreciate it, okay? So let's look at this from the nuts and bolts first, okay? So you're getting this course outline checklist, okay? And those of you who are with me in part two, it's very similar, okay? This helps you get organized. I'm also including dates in the calendar in the actual D2L. So those will pop up every day too in terms of what is due. And I'm going to put due in quotations. You know, those dates are there to keep us all working together. If you can't make that exact date, that's okay. Try to be as close to that date as you can. The ideal is that by Sunday night, everything for that week has been done for your benefit and for the benefit of everyone else taking the course. Because we need you for the discussions and your active participation in the course to make this real and vibrant and make those conversations really rich and worthwhile for all of us. Okay, that's important. Number two, for your benefit, life is busy. You guys are working full time. You have other things in your lives. So as you fall back, it's going to get harder to get caught up, and you're not going to get the full benefit of this course, because if all you're doing is getting caught up, you are not experiencing the fullness of this course. Okay, and this being your specialist, your part three, you really want to leave this grounded and feeling confident in your faith and understanding what this is all about, because you're entering into a different level of faith leadership as specialists in our Catholic education system. Okay, and especially if you're going to be administration, you become the faith leader of the school. So even if you're working in secondary and you have a chaplain working with you, you are still the faith leader as a principal of a school. Okay, so your chaplain is there to support you, but ultimately you're steering the ship there, okay? So what are you steering with? Okay, so this is going to be given to you in completion, and hopefully I won't have to update this too much. I did several versions of this in the summer, so I'm trying to just get it into one, okay? So you are going to follow this. So it starts with required documents. I've talked about this. You can find the documents. Make sure they go in the Dropbox. Check it off. You've done it, okay? This helps you guys stay organized, okay? Then I've listed all the topics for Zoom. Okay, in the copy that you have, I haven't inputted the dates yet because I wasn't sure if we're going to go with Wednesday or Tuesday, but it looks like we're landing on Wednesday, but still I can make changes to that. These topics in the Zoom column here, okay, these topics, if you attend a Zoom session, you do not have to post or write anything for these topics. Zoom is another way of covering these tasks that you're complete. I take attendance as to who attended, and then in my attendance bookkeeping, I check you off as complete if you attended a Zoom. Okay, you still have to do the reading, you still have to do the prep work. I do expect a certain amount of participation from you in that 1 hour Zoom session. right? But you don't have to post anything or respond to anyone. Now, that being said, if you still want to post, if you still want to read other people's posts and respond, please do that. I had one group a couple of, probably last year, a group of part twos, and almost the whole group who came to Zoom also posted. And I kept telling them, you don't have to post, but they wanted to. So yeah, no problem. But if you're strapped for time and all you can do is one, and you attended Zoom, then you do not have to post, okay? So I hope that's pretty clear. And then when you continue with this, we're going through the modules, okay? So color coded is the red is the action plan, which I'm going to talk to you about, okay? And then the green is if you have to post to a discussion board, and if you post to a discussion board, then you have to respond to at least one other person with some meaningful feedback, okay? If you fall into a pattern of posting and you're very, very thin on what you write, I will talk to you about that in terms of what you're giving us in your discussion posts. Okay, so you got to find that happy medium. You don't have to go on and on. Okay, you're reading, you're reflecting and putting thoughts together. But if you're being very short and you're not really giving me a lot of meat, and I'm not really seeing that you've read the material, like I'm not seeing something pop out from the reading in what you're posting in the discussion board, then I will ask you to beef it up a little bit and just like give me a little bit more. Show me that you've done some reading. So it doesn't really necessarily talk about, that you have to lengthen what you're writing, but in the context of what you're writing, I need to see that pop out. I need to see that you've read, you've processed, and this is what you're discussing. It's coming from a direct reflection from what you read. Okay, so I think we know that by now with part 3 that that's what we're supposed to do. Okay, but I'm just kind of reminding you. Okay, and then it goes on, right? So we've got the 3 modules now with the encounter, engage, and evangelize. Okay, so we're still doing scripture, we're still doing ethics, we're still doing sacraments, we're still doing those modules that we're used to in this course, but they're just kind of spread throughout the entire course, right? In the context of this story, The Road to Emmaus. Okay, so please, once I give you the final copy, and I'll tell you what the final copy is, print this off. I know we're used to doing stuff on computer. Check off physically, and you will be organized. If I go through my checklist and I notice you're missing stuff, I will go back and say, hi, according to my records, I see that you've missed blank. Okay, so I will remind you if you've forgotten things. Sometimes we do. We think we did it, or we've been thinking about it, and then we forget to do it. I do that a lot, okay? So I'll be working with you guys and then hopefully offering you enough feedback. What we've done, because we realize this course has been condensed, we've taken already a lot of what's in the discussion posts. We took that from being a Dropbox, and we've changed it into discussion, okay? So that lessens the workload without us actually taking topics out of the course. So we've kept all the topics in, given this shortened period of time that we have to complete this course, but we switched the expectation from Dropbox to discussion, except for the action plan, okay? So that stayed in the Dropbox, okay? We've also given you the option, if you prefer. Okay, so we're expanding this, right? If you prefer not to have it as a discussion post, but you feel it's a little more personal and you want to just speak to your instructor, you can post it in a Dropbox, and that way I will give you individual feedback for that one. Okay, so you have the choice. If you feel like you want to just go on a one-on-one for some of the things, be a little more open and honest, and you want that direct feedback, post to the Dropbox, okay? So anytime through this course, if you're feeling like, I could use a little more feedback, let me know. And we can figure out how you should be posting in order to get that feedback for you as we go along, okay? I'm a big fan of feedback throughout the course. If there's things you want to let me know, I just would prefer to change things as we go along, as opposed to the very end of the course saying, oh, Ursula, I wish you had done this, or anonymous feedback, of course, in the evaluation of, Ursula didn't do blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, why didn't you tell me? Because I could have corrected that along the way, right? So this is more for you. I want you to have the best possible experience, especially part 3. And if you're not talking to me as we go along, if you're not telling me what you need, that feedback at the end really isn't going to do much, because you'll be done, right? I mean, it'll help me to help others in the future courses, but in regards for you, you need to tell me as we go along, okay? So that's this part of the nuts and bolts of the part 3, okay? You're going on the road to Emmaus, okay? So this starts in part 1, which nobody here has encountered. Part 2, some of you guys have already been on this road to Emmaus. Part 3, we're finishing the road to Emmaus. So this new format for the religious ed courses are linking in 1, 2, and 3 together through the scripture passage in Luke, which is a social justice gospel. Luke is a very social justice oriented, so which is nice because we're also threading 1, 2, and 3 with Pope Francis's Laudato Si, which is also an encyclical that is reflective of social justice in terms of care for our common home, what's going on in this world, what should we all be doing together, Christians and non-Christians alike. This encyclical, this letter is for the world, not just for Catholics, okay? Very important. So we are linking in all 3 components: Road to Emmaus, scripture, Laudato Si, papal encyclical from our most current pope, okay? And taking all the modules of sacraments, faith, ethics, and scripture, and weaving it as we take this road, okay? So you have come on this road, so that is the encounter module, okay? You've come on this road and you're encountering the different modules of scripture with John's gospel. We're going into sacraments, vocational sacraments we're going to be looking at in this encounter. Ethics in terms of human sexuality, bioethics, those are the components of part 3. And also, in terms of church history, and our Catholic school system is part of that church history with the enduring gift, okay? So in those 3 modules, those are the things we're going to be unpacking, but in different ways according to the 3 E's of this course: encounter, engage, and evangelize, okay? So if we look at the road to Emmaus, the encounters, they're walking on the road, they meet this stranger, they start having conversation, they don't quite know who he is or what's going on. And that's pretty much our faith. So many times we're trying to get on the road, we get on the road, and we're not sure where we're going, and we're not sure who's on this road with us sometimes, right? And that's very common in terms of our faith journey. This is why it's such a great story, okay? But they encounter Jesus, and Jesus starts to unpack things for them, even though they don't see him, they don't recognize him. And that's us in Catholic education, right? We're unpacking things together, but sometimes we're still uncertain of our faith. We're not sure in terms of our vocational call. We're not sure of our ethical dilemmas, our ethical development, our morals and ethics. Like, what is the foundation of us as decision makers? What is guiding us? Can we allow faith to guide us in that way? We should. We have to, because we are responsible for our students' faith formation, moral development. And even though we might be struggling with it as an adult, we need to lay that foundation for our students. They need to hear what the church has to offer. It's got to be part of their decision-making process, right? So that is important. And as we go through the course, we're going to expand on that, right? And then the module 2 is engaging, right? So they finally figure out it's Jesus. They invite him for dinner. They recognize him in the breaking of the bread. It's very sacramental, right? And all of a sudden, oh my gosh, this is who he is. He's been with us all along. We didn't get it, right? So again, you're going to go through the ethics, the sacraments, and scripture in this module, the engaging module. How are we recognizing? Are we recognizing, Jesus on this road of care for our common home, right? And other, things that we're going to be looking at in terms of the course. And as I'm looking at this too, there's 3 or 4 topics here that says personal reflection in blue, and you don't have to give a response, right? So we're going to try to talk about some of this in the Zoom too, but you don't have to post. Just make sure you read. Sorry, I just digress here for a second. And then thirdly, we evangelize. So we go off and do what we're supposed to do, right? So Road to Emmaus is a story of resurrection. Okay, we are the people of the resurrection as Catholic Christians. Every Sunday we celebrate the resurrection. We are Easter people. Christmas is important, Jesus is born, but the most important part of our faith, which defines us, is the resurrection, right? So in the Road to Emmaus, which is found at the end of Luke, an Easter story, how are we inspired and excited about going out there and continuing the work that Jesus began? How are we going to evangelize? Our schools are our ministries. Our schools have become a church for a lot of our students. They're not going to their parishes. There's a disconnect. We know this. The church has undergone some brokenness. It will be rebuilt. We're in the period of reconstruction. And that's my contractor. And so how are we rebuilding? How are we going to do this, right? So that is what we're going to be sent forth with after part 3 as specialists, to continue that work, to understand our mission of evangelizing, of creating those ministries within our classroom, in our schools, and in our communities. How can we be the good news, right? All right, in Laudato Si, you guys are going to be looking at chapter 5. Okay, so we looked at different sections in part 1, 2, and 3. This is going to go into your action plan. Okay, so your action plan, oh my goodness, what did I just do with it? Is going to be woven throughout this course. Okay, and you've got the instructions in the section that says integration task. So you've got introduction module, you've got these 3 modules, but you also have the explanation of what you're doing in this integration task. You're going to find the different components of this integration task in all 3 modules. On the outline, you're going to see all the integration tasks typed in red, right, or printed in red, so you'll be able to pull them out. So they become part of the flow of the course, but it's also working towards that final assignment at the end, where you're going to create something that hopefully will be practical and useful within your school community, in your ministry as you go out to evangelize, right? So make sure that you take a good read through. I've got mine printed off here, okay, of that, the instructions for this, okay? So you're going to do a proposal. Make sure you don't continue with this until I've received your proposal and I've given back feedback to say, yes, go ahead with this. You can now continue with this, okay? So you're going to be doing this throughout the course, okay? So it'll tell you what a completed action plan must clearly include. Again, make sure, again, you read these instructions carefully. And if you have questions, ask me questions about what you're doing. If you're not sure, at the very end of your course outline, you're going to see it together right here. Okay, so you're going to see the different components. You've already seen this throughout the body of this in all the reds, but here you're just seeing it as one block in terms of the different pieces that you've already encountered in the rest of the course outline together, so you can kind of see what this looks like as a package. And then in the actual course outline, you're going to see how it's integrated within the course. Okay, I hope that's clear. I hope that helps. Again, there's the different components. Is the introduction, which is due this week so you can get started, right? And then you're going to have something due next week too. And kind of, each week as you're going to go through, it's going to also include ethics, Catholic social teachings, right? So we're going to look at different areas of what we need to do in our ministry in this action plan and how is this going to be worked in your school community. Okay? If I find that people have a lot of questions on this, I will do another short video just on this action plan to add clarification based on the questions you ask me. Okay? And that is it for the nuts and bolts. It's a little longer than I expected, but there's a lot to kind of unpack in part 3. So good luck, enjoy, and I will answer questions as we go along and add to the instructions and clarification as needed. I will continue to try to make this clear for you guys, okay? See you at Zoom, hopefully. Please come to Zoom. They're awesome. They're awesome. Okay, bye.